Trifecta by Dean Pearl. Chapter 25. As the girls were shopping, they were chatting actively about all kinds of things. At one point, Wesley let out an intentional fake yawn right in front of Kitty. As she had hoped, Kitty asked why she was so tired. "It must just be what Vegas does to people," Wesley laughed. "I don't seem to be getting as much sleep as I usually do. There's so much to do and see here." "Yep," Kitty replied. "Well, with everything open 24 hours a day and 3 shifts of workers, it's no wonder coke and meth are so popular here." "I can imagine," Wesley answered while looking right at Kitty. "I don't suppose you have something that would help me with that, do you?" She smiled. "You know, normally I would, but there's been quite a drought here the last few weeks. However, the word is that this weekend there's supposed to be a big white Christmas sale, if you know what I mean." Kitty educated her. "Well, that's not soon enough," Wesley laughed. "Let's get some coffee or something." "I could go for that too," Leslie added. The girls had some coffee and a bite to eat before doing a bit more shopping and heading home to call Ben and inform him of the news of a coming drug delivery. "It's supposed to go down this weekend," Wesley informed Ben over the phone, "but I don't know the exact location or time yet." "That's okay, that's great work. We thought it would still be a couple weeks," Ben told her. "Have you met Kitty's husband yet?" Ben asked. "No, but she mentioned her husband would be in the club tonight if we wanted to stop by and meet him," Wesley mentioned. "Okay, that's good," Ben began. "Do you think that maybe one of you can find a way to find and tag Kitty's husband's car or bike with a tracer so we can track his whereabouts?" "I don't see why not," Leslie added. "Shouldn't be too hard to do." "Excellent," Ben added. "Once we have the ability to track him, we can just stay on him until the drug deal goes down, provided he has nothing to do with it. But even if he isn't directly involved, I'm guessing whoever he gets his personal stash from will be the same ones who will be involved in the major deal. That gives us a place to raid. It appears Kitty is prepared to sell you some once she gets it, so we can start there. If we bust her and her husband, we can manipulate them into giving us more info on whoever is doing the actual main trafficking." That night they were all three back at the club to meet Kitty's husband. His name was Eddie, and he seemed like a pretty nice guy as Kitty introduced them all. He wasn't dressed like a biker, but more like just any other 30-something guy off the street. Old jeans with a t-shirt and sneakers. Max made a point of talking it up with Eddie as the girls did their usual chit-chat. "So I guess you ride, huh?" Max asked Eddie. "What kind of bike do you ride?" "I've got an '05 Heritage Softail, customized," Eddie said proudly. "Awesome," Max responded. Did you drive it tonight? I'd love to take a look at it." "Sure," Eddie replied. "Let me take a quick leak and we'll go check it out and burn one if you want." "Perfect," Max stated as Eddie went to the restroom. "Do you have the tracker?" Ben asked Wesley quietly as Kitty was serving some other customers. She had heard Max's conversation with Eddie, so she knew why he wanted the tracker. She reached into her jeans pocket to take out the very small tracking device and just slipped it into Max's pocket in one smooth stroke, just as Kitty returned. A couple of moments later, Eddie returned and looked at Max and said, "Come on." Together they walked out the door to go check out Eddie's bike. As they were walking, Eddie lit up a joint. Max took the silver dollar-sized tracker and palmed it in one hand while accepting the joint with the other. As they walked up to the bike, Max ran his hand along the lines of the bike from the front rim to the tail, making compliments to Eddie as he did so. Eddie was smiling proudly as Max leaned over and put one hand on the bike seat as he acted like he was leaning over to admire the engine and exhaust. As he leaned over, he slipped the magnetic tracer under the front of the seat and onto the gas tank, giving it a little push to make sure it was secure and out of sight as they continued chatting about the bike and smoking the joint. As Ben stood back up, he looked at Eddie and said, "I'm so jealous. I'm going to get me a bike one of these days, I swear." Eddie laughed loudly and was beaming with pride as Ben went on and on to the girls about how great Eddie's bike was, saying he wished he could afford one like that someday, as the girls laughed, knowing that Max was worth well over $30 million, as were they. At one point, Kitty leaned over to her husband and mentioned that the girls were looking to score some meth, but told him not to say anything to Max as they weren't sure he was into that stuff. So when Max got up at one point to go to the bathroom, Eddie leaned over the bar and whispered to the girls, "Kitty says you two are looking for some go-go." "If you mean speed, then yeah," Leslie giggled. "But don't say anything in front of Max, please. We don't know if he does it. We know he smokes pot, though." "I know," Eddie laughed. "We just had a joint in the parking lot." "But okay, here's the deal. I can't get any right now, but this Saturday afternoon I can hook you up, if that's cool," Eddie smiled. "That would be great," Leslie told him. "When and where should we meet you?" "How much you want?" Eddie asked. How about just $1 to start with," Wesley responded. "But as I mentioned to Kitty, at some point I'd like to talk about a much bigger amount to take home with us. Our guys back home have been going through quite a drought back in Texas, too. Anyway, we'll save that for another time. Here comes Max back from the can, so let's keep it to ourselves, okay?" Wesley pleaded. "Everything come out okay, cousin?" Leslie tossed out as Max walked up. Yeah, pretty much, Max claimed, but since the doctor told me last visit to stop lifting heavy things, I had to sit down to pee. The other four of them laughed at Max's joke just as the band was starting their next set, so conversation wouldn't come as easily when they started due to the volume. The night continued with laughter and cocktails until it was closing time. Most of the crowd had already left as Kitty was cleaning up around the bar. The girls and Max were getting ready to go themselves. As they were all shaking hands and saying goodbyes, Wesley stopped to look at Kitty and Eddie, who were standing next to each other, and said, "Kitty, you have my number. Call me about getting together for shopping Saturday afternoon, okay?" Since Kitty was aware of what her husband and Wesley had discussed, she went right along. "Got ya," Kitty said across the bar as Max and the girls walked out. On the ride home, Max told the girls how he had planted the tracking device on Eddie's motorcycle, and the girls informed him that they have a drug buy set up for this Saturday afternoon. The next morning, Wesley called Ben with the previous night's results, and he was thrilled with the way things were going. Now we knew that the deal was going down Saturday morning or afternoon, and he confirmed that they now had a trackable beacon established for Eddie's bike. Hopefully it will help them score a successful bust. He also realized that even if they couldn't track down the location for the big bust, as a worst case scenario, they could always bust a small deal between Eddie and the girls and try to manipulate him to give up more information for some leniency.